On a small green hill to the south of Guildford, not far from the busy A3 trunk road, is a remarkable building designed by Mary Seton Watts as a cemetery chapel for the village of Compton. Mary Fraser Tytler, who was to become the second wife of George Frederick Watts, was born in 1849. She was brought up by her well-connected grandparents at Eldorey Castle at the northern end of Loch Ness in Scotland. During her childhood in Scotland, she probably had first-hand experience of the Pictish Celtic cultural motives that she was to use so widely in her art. When Mary eventually came to live in London, she studied painting and sculpture. Hilary Underwood, a curatorial advisor to the Watts Gallery, explains.
Mary Watts was one of the first generation of British women to have a chance of a professional art training in the 1860s. But she was also a lady, and that meant that there were strong cultural expectations that she shouldn't seek fame for herself or earn a living. So she turned her considerable artistic talents to philanthropy. It was an ideal that George Frederick Watts shared. He wanted his art to go into public places where it would reach a large number of people and do good. And so the marriage was a very happy partnership based on shared ideals.
Thick fog and its attendant lack of light was a big problem for a painter, and to get away from London fog so GF could continue his work, the Wattses would stay with friends at Monk's Hatch just outside Compton. Eventually they decided to build their own house in Limnersleys, nearby. The Watts commissioned Ernest George, a well-known architect of the day, to design the new house, and in 1891 they moved from London to Limnersleys. Mary designed and made a magnificent ceiling for the new house using gesso, plaster mixed with glue, incorporating just those motifs that were to become so important in the chapel decoration.
When Mary and George Frederick Watts moved to Compton at the beginning of the 1890s, there was a need for a new village cemetery. It was through their financial support that the village was able to buy a new field for that cemetery. But because this was some distance away from the old parish church, it needed a chapel, and Mary set up a Home Arts and Industries class in her studio in Limnersleys. And the villagers worked first on the exterior and then on the interior of the chapel to her direction. Compton Potters Arts Guild used for its first years local clay, and one of the characteristics of this iron-rich clay is it fires to a very, very rich orangey red. Apparently, when Mary first built the chapel, she hoped that that rich orangey red would tone down, but it never did.
So the building and all its important decoration began to take place in the mid-1890s. It was consecrated by the Bishop of Winchester in 1898 and finally finished in 1904. The chapel is an amalgamation of various cultural symbolisms, fortunately explained by Mary Watts in her book The Word in the Pattern. Every detail has a symbolic significance. The extraordinary and complexly designed panels above the door, for example, have images symbolic of various aspects of mourning and comfort. The four large curved friezes around the sides are explained as the spirit of hope with the peacock, the bird of hope, the spirit of truth with the owl as the bird of wisdom, the spirit of love with the self-sacrificing pelican, and the spirit of light and the eagle who can look at the sun. The glorious interior of the chapel was modelled in gesso and painted with egg tempera paints, pure pigments mixed with egg yolk as binder. The attendant angels and archangels guard the inside space, supporting the wonderful sinuous tree of life as it ascends heavenwards. Above the altar there is a picture G.F. Watts painted to express the idea of the all-pervading. Mary Watt's other project at the time was the establishment of gallery premises to permanently exhibit George Frederick Watts's paintings. He laid the foundation stone on his 86th birthday in 1903, and the gallery opened to the public just before his death in 1904. Mary designed the Italian brick cloister in the cemetery grounds as a memorial to her husband in 1907. Mary died in 1938. There are terracotta memorials to both Mary and G.F. Watts in the grounds of Limnasley's, just by the Pilgrim's Way.